Hi, I'm Mitch Mitchell. I've had a very interesting last 3.5 weeks. Um, the first thing I did was I spoke to a sorority, a black sorority at Syracuse University that wanted to have me come in and talk about leadership and diversity and how it affects the community as it relates to healthcare. Well, I work in healthcare, I'm leadership, I'm diversity, so I guess I was the perfect person to go do it. And I went in and I spoke to them and I talked about all these different kinds of things, some of the things that I've done over the years, and that went really well. The second is the next week I spoke at Lemoyne College, and this time it was for a class on leadership, and I was asked to come in and once again talk about leadership and diversity in business and why it's important. And the third time is actually just days ago, where I spoke to a local news reporter after a story came out talking about different bands that are going to be coming to the Syracuse area that have been booked. And let's just say that there's no people of color and there's no women in any of the groups that have been booked. And she knew what I did because we're connected on Twitter. And so she contacted me and we did an interview over the phone talking about this issue. And one of the things I said was that anyone who's a good or great leader understands the need to have diverse opinions on whatever it is that they do. No matter what your business is, if you have everyone who's in total agreement on the exact same thing, every single thing, all the way through the process, then you're probably missing something. I mean, that's just how it works. You need to have someone else who has a different opinion or maybe see things in a different way. It could be better or it just may be different, but it helps to take everything into account. And I thought about this a little bit because I realized that I have always believed that there is this definite, mixing of leadership and diversity. The best leaders in the world know how to work with anybody, and people are diverse. So, you know how to work with women, you know how to work with men, you know how to work with young men as opposed to older men, or younger women as opposed to older women. You know how to work with the disabled. You know how to work with those who aren't in the majority, and you know how to work with the majority. In essence, you know how to work with everybody. You know how to work with the people who have positions that are above yours. You know how to work with people with positions that are considered below yours. You know how to work with the people who work for you, and you know how to work with the people who are considered as on your level. And you know what? None of those people are the same. When I did the thing for Lemoyne College, I gave them all a copy of my book, my first book called Embrace the Lead. I gave them all a copy of this. And I asked them to turn to page 131, where I talk about diversity. That's what, part of the article was talking about diversity. And then I asked them to turn to page 136, where I broke down at least 15 or 16, can't remember exactly what the number is, but 15 or 16 different ways of looking at diversity. Because diversity isn't always about race. I mean, race is always a big component, but it's not. And it's not always about sex. You could have two people who live next door to each other who maybe one's family is richer than the other. Maybe they have a different educational background. Maybe you have the PhD living over here. You have the high school graduate living over here. Maybe one works at the college and one is a plumber. And it doesn't necessarily mean that the plumber's not making more money, because plumbers make a bunch of money. But they can be living next door. The kids are going to the same school, but they have this different input. Maybe one was German and one was French, as far as background goes. So you have to look at all these different kinds of things and recognize that, one, people are a bit more diverse than what you think they are, but two, there are these extra outliers of extra diversity that if you're going to be a real leader, you really have to understand that, and you have to consider it in whatever it is you do. Because as we talked about the news story, one of my bets on it was that the group that was putting together the schedule probably wasn't a diverse group. Uh, I mean, I'm just sitting there thinking that I have a bet that if there had been a black person on that group, that you wouldn't have all those country acts. And I'm betting if there was a woman that there would not have been at least one female singer or girls group. I don't know if they even call them girls groups anymore, or ladies group. I don't know what they call those groups. Are there even any? I haven't kept up with the new music, so I really don't know who's out there. But back in the day, they used to call them girls groups. Like I said, I don't know what they call it now. But there's got to be these groups that are out there that are making this music that could come to an area like Syracuse and perform and be well received. I'm just hard pressed to believe there's not. As a matter of fact, in this particular list, most of the acts are from the 70s and 80s. I knew a lot of those names. I said, well, yeah, they're pretty good. A lot of those people I could see myself wanting to go to see, but there had to be something newer. There had to be something more diverse. There's got to be Latino music. There's R&B and rap. There's a lot of great women singers. For that matter, there's a lot of singers of all types. So this is just my thought on the mixing of leadership and diversity. But you know what? I'll put it out there to you. What do you think? Do you think it's important? And if you don't think it's important, you tell me why. And don't just give me a one or two word thing. Try to explain why you don't believe diversity is a big deal. And I'll just throw this out there, letting you know that as of 2030 or so, you know what? The majority ain't necessarily going to be the majority anymore in this country. I'm just saying. Look at the numbers. I didn't make this up. Anyway, I'm Mitch Mitchell. Let's hear your point of view. Y'all take care.